Loretta Bowersock, a pillar of her community, vanished, gone without a trace. It was as if the earth had swallowed her whole. Her vibrant life, filled with the warmth of family and the success of her thriving antique business, was reduced to a void. The idyllic facade of their close-knit town was shattered, replaced by a chilling question. What happened to Loretta? Terry, Loretta's daughter, felt the world tilt on its axis. One moment, life was a symphony of shared laughter and whispered secrets with her mother. The next, it was a cacophony of fear and uncertainty. The unanswered calls, the empty house, the growing dread. It was a nightmare she couldn't wake up from. Terry clung to the hope of her mother's return, her heart refusing to accept the possibility of a world without Loretta's infectious laugh. As days bled into weeks, the initial shock morphed into a gnawing anxiety. The townsfolk, once eager to share a piece of their lives with Loretta, were now hesitant, their eyes filled with a mixture of pity and suspicion. Terry could feel their gazes lingering on her, their whispers following her like shadows. The weight of their unspoken questions, their doubts, pressed down on her, fueling her determination to find her mother. She owed it to Loretta, to their bond, to unearth the truth, no matter how painful it promised to be. The police investigation was a slow, agonizing crawl. Leads were followed and dismissed, theories proposed and discarded. Days turned into weeks, each one a hammer blow to Terry's hope. The lack of progress gnawed at her, the silence deafening. She found herself replaying every conversation, every interaction with her mother, searching for a clue, a hint, anything that could lead her to Loretta. Terry wasn't content to sit on the sidelines. Fueled by a potent cocktail of grief and determination, she took it upon herself to retrace her mother's steps. She revisited Loretta's favorite haunts, her antique shop, the cozy cafe where she often met friends. Each location held a memory, a whisper of Loretta's presence, but no concrete answers. The townsfolk, initially eager to help, seemed to clam up in her presence, their eyes filled with a strange mix of sympathy and apprehension. Terry couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. The whispers, the averted gazes, the reluctance to speak freely, it all pointed to a truth that no one wanted to utter aloud. The thought sent a shiver down her spine. Was someone deliberately hiding information? Was her mother's disappearance more than just a missing person case? The question circled in her mind, feeding her growing suspicion that something sinister had befallen Loretta. Driven by this unsettling premonition, Terry delved deeper into her mother's life, determined to uncover the truth. She meticulously went through Loretta's belongings, her phone records, her calendar, searching for any detail that could provide a lead. The task was both heartbreaking and necessary, each item a painful reminder of her mother's absence, yet a potential key to unlocking the mystery of her disappearance. As she sifted through the fragments of her mother's life, a chilling realization began to dawn on her. Loretta's disappearance was no accident. Her stepfather, Robert, was a figure shrouded in ambiguity. He'd always maintained a stoic exterior, his emotions an enigma to Terry. In the aftermath of Loretta's disappearance, his grief seemed muted. He moved through the motions of mourning, yet a chilling detachment lingered in his eyes. It was as if he were playing a role, reciting lines from a script he hadn't bothered to internalize. Terry observed him closely, her intuition screaming that something wasn't right. His alibis were flimsy, his explanations riddled with inconsistencies. His demeanor, once stoic, now seemed laced with an underlying current of anxiety. She noticed him flinch at the mention of certain topics, his eyes darting nervously around the room as if searching for an escape route. The more she observed, the stronger her suspicions grew. His behavior was at odds with the image of a grieving husband. He seemed more concerned with maintaining appearances than with finding his missing wife. He'd deflect questions about Loretta's business dealings, her personal relationships, anything that could shed light on her disappearance. His evasiveness fueled Terry's suspicions, solidifying the growing knot of dread in her stomach. Terry confided in the police about her concerns, but they were initially dismissive. Without concrete evidence, they treated her suspicions as a byproduct of grief, the desperate accusations of a daughter clinging to a glimmer of hope. But Terry refused to be silenced. She knew in her heart that Robert was hiding something crucial to finding her mother. Armed with this conviction, she embarked on a solitary quest to uncover the truth, determined to expose the secrets lurking beneath the surface of her stepfather's carefully constructed facade. Terry's investigation became an obsession. She spent countless hours poring over financial records, meticulously tracing the flow of money through her mother's business. Loretta was meticulous, a stickler for detail. Yet Terry discovered discrepancies, irregularities that hinted at a hidden narrative. Large sums of money had vanished, transactions made without Loretta's knowledge. The paper trail led back to Robert, his fingerprints all over the missing funds. Fueled by this discovery, Terry dug deeper, unearthing a web of deceit that spanned years. She discovered secret accounts, offshore investments, all meticulously concealed from Loretta. Robert, the seemingly devoted husband, had been systematically siphoning money from her mother's business, bleeding her dry financially. The realization hit Terry like a physical blow. The man she had known as her stepfather, the man who shared their home, their lives, had been living a lie built on betrayal and greed. The weight of her discovery was crushing, yet it also fueled her determination. Armed with this newfound evidence, she returned to the police, her voice shaking with a mixture of anger and grief. She presented her findings, the meticulously documented proof of Robert's treachery. The evidence was irrefutable, the pieces of the puzzle falling into place to reveal a sinister picture. The police, initially skeptical, were now forced to confront the truth that Terry had so painstakingly uncovered. Robert, the grieving husband, the picture of innocence, was exposed as a fraud, his carefully constructed facade crumbling under the weight of his own deception. Terry's relentless pursuit of the truth had yielded results, but at a cost. The man she had once considered family was now the prime suspect in her mother's disappearance. The revelation shattered her world once more, leaving behind a bitter cocktail of betrayal and grief.